Our world is filled with strange sightings, ghosts, UFOs, Bigfoot. Folklore of old is resurfacing for a new generation, and it's up to me to delve deep in the vaults, uncover ancient manuscripts, and recover what I can about these monsters. For every claim, for every video, there is an answer.
Hello, dwellers, friends of the supernatural. It's your host, Elric Gloom, keeper of the unknown. Today we will be discussing a fiend of Japanese origin, the Ningen. This giant humanoid sea monster is said to dwell near the Antarctic regions of this world. Some accounts say that it swims like a man, others with a fish-like tail, or the eldritch tendrils so common to the giants of the unfathomable deep. They are said to be white as ice, with the head and arms of a human, ranging between 60 and 90 feet. It's a fairly new cryptid, with its first sighting in the late 20th century by crewmen aboard a whale research vessel. But is it just a fisherman's tale, or something more?
This thing's basically a giant albino mermaid whose name is literally the Japanese word for human. And not only is it a giant albino mermaid, it's a fairly new giant albino mermaid. When doing research on this, I could only find one account, and that is the anonymous account of someone who claims to be a crew member aboard a Japanese whale research vehicle. And, when they saw this thing, they first thought it was a submarine. But when they got closer, they saw that it was alive before it went into the sea. And apparently the Japanese government is suppressing the images of this thing, but, not all Antarctic ships are Japanese. What of the American or Swedish ships? Or does this thing only appear to the Japanese? My first thoughts upon seeing the supposed picture of it is that it's ice. But according to the cryptid wiki, if you zoom in really close, it looks like skin. This monster is most likely a whale or squid if we're going for a biological explanation. Other than that, it's what they first thought, a submarine or a piece of ice floating out there. Odds are it's not a giant human. And for the images, because there are quite a few images, for the images, Photoshop can never be ruled out. There's extraordinary stuff you can do with Photoshop. It's always a possibility. But, there are a few red flags that pop out to me. The first being the claims that the government's retaining this information. If you ever hear that the government's keeping this as monster or aliens or whatever, a secret, immediately go, yeah, that's bullshit. The second is this thing's alleged size and appearance. We would have seen a lot more of this by now if it existed. A giant, pure white human in the ocean. It shouldn't be that hard to spot. Oh, but it's nocturnal. Yeah, apparently this thing's nocturnal, which we get from one claim. And if it's nocturnal, then how the hell did our anonymous crewman see the bloody thing? If you've ever been to the ocean at night, or any place with little to no light pollution for that matter, it's pretty dark. And you know, the story claims they saw the thing on the horizon, but if they saw it on the horizon at night, you wouldn't see it on the horizon unless you have superhuman sight, or you use some equipment like radar or a telescope or something, maybe a telescope, night vision telescope. But you wouldn't see it unless you are right on top of it. And even if somehow you did manage to see it, you know, it's glowing or you have a spotlight on it, at that distance, you're not going to be able to tell what the fuck it is.
This first video is obviously very grainy. It's also very short because it follows the rules of any alien or UFO or monster sighting recorded for 15 seconds on the worst camera you can find. It's actually in such a bad quality that it could literally be anything. So in theory, yes, it could be a giant sea monster, but at the same time, it could be someone swimming or a toy or very easily CGI even. The quality isn't enough to say, yes, it is something, or no, it is nothing. This video is the whole reason why I decided to make this taking the piss video. It was my Ningen cherry, if you will. I found it while I was mindlessly watching one of those bullshit
Top 10 largest unexplained sea monsters caught on camera. Number 3 will shock you
videos with a clickbait thumbnail of Cthulhu or dragons or some shit. But that's unimportant. This video is clearer than the last one, but it's also shorter. Upon seeing this, my first thought was whale, and my thoughts remain that it's either a whale or, you know, some CGI project of some form. The shortness of this clip makes me think that it's either proved to be mundane or that it is a hoax. Because who in their right mind would see a giant monster and only film it for 10 seconds? Finally, one that uses a good camera. I absolutely love this video. It's from Jamstech, the Japanese agency for marine earth science and technology. And they have an official statement on this video, and that official statement is that it's a rock with two creatures on it, which is pretty reasonable, and they sound like a reputable source. They get pretty close to the thing, and it does look like a rock. It definitely isn't the Snow White it's said to be in it, at any rate. If you want to watch the full video, and I highly recommend that you do, I have a link for it in the description. This image often comes up in the videos featuring today's monster. Whoever made this is awesome. Like, this thing is the definition of badassery. But it's definitely a lot different looking than the other Ningen images or the description of the monster even. But no one ever seems to ask, where did this picture come from? Why does it look so different? But, I decided to go digging and did a reverse image search looking for the oldest one I could find, which was on a dead site in mid-2009, but it didn't gain traction until early 2010. After trolling through several sites, finding a bunch of dead sources, I came across one that wasn't dead or in Japanese, which has the picture listed as an artist's rendition of the monster. A link to that will also be in the description. Again, this one is most likely it's photoshopped, but it could also be some strange ice formation or a whale, but most likely photoshopped. This last one is supposed to be the Ningen seen swimming from Google Earth. I'm skeptical, but I'll leave it up to you to decide whether or not it is. This image also comes up while searching for the Ningen. This image is incredible.
There are other explanations. Aliens, demons, prehistoric aquatic sloths, or perhaps it's even something mundane, like a monster, or a whale, or an undiscovered species. We may never know, but until we do, look to the horizon, or you may find yourself face to face with the giant of the deep.
While researching this thing, I found an article on Mysterious Universe by Rob Murphy that said, and I quote, "Any student of ufology will realize that this is the same tact used by the US and many other governments to debunk the very real UFO phenomenon during the 20th century." I'm going to get into aliens later when I decide to be more controversial and make a lot of people angry. But for now, let's tackle government cover-ups. They are an extremely stupid excuse because they don't work. At least not for something of this nature. The government's not exactly the best at hiding things, and especially for something that requires multiple governments and silencing a lot of witnesses, because these Arctic research boats tend to be pretty big. And, the bigger the boat, the bigger the crew. And the more people you have to silence. But how many people can you trust to keep a secret, and how much would it cost to buy someone's silence? It's uneconomic. However, I will say this, lending towards the creature. If we're going to find any giant or large forms of life right here on Earth, it's going to be in the ocean. You know, the majority of the ocean is unexplored, the majority of the species undiscovered, and every time we go into the deep, we come back finding a new species, a new form of life. But for something like this, for the Ningen, a giant humanoid, I'm going to remain skeptical, but who knows, perhaps one day we'll find a sea giant who looks human and has feet and hands that aren't webbed. Perhaps one day we'll find those. Whatever you think on Ningen, government cover-ups, the ocean, whatever you think, leave it in the comment section below. Unless it is Zamasu. If it's Zamasu, then remain silent.